Water and power have returned to Kyiv a day after Russian strikes caused widespread outages. The city's mayor said residents should still expect planned power cuts due to damages from Russian attacks. The temporary cut left hundreds lining up for water in the Ukrainian capital. The attacks are part of Moscow's strategy to target key civilian facilities as the winter nears. Around a third of Ukraine's power stations have now been destroyed. Our Ukraine correspondent Matthias Böllinger is in Kyiv for us this morning. So the water and power supplies have been restored. What do you reckon? How long can that last?
That's a good question, but most likely, if there are new attacks, of course, we will see what they bring. But if there are no new attacks for the moment, everything is working again. Of course, there are still shortages, so there will still be power cuts. That's officially confirmed that they will continue the scheme of cutting off the power in certain areas of the city for some time, some hours a day, basically. That's in order to minimize pressure on the electricity grid, because power supply, there is a shortage of power, but every household, that's what the officials are saying, is now reconnected to power and to water, and if there are no new destructions, to some extent this will continue working.
Now, the International Atomic Energy Agency has begun new inspections to Ukraine. What's the background for that?
Russia has accused Ukraine of preparing a dirty bomb. That is a bomb that contains radioactive energy, although it's not a nuclear bomb that sets off the process in the nuclear explosion process, but that will spread the radioactivity around, and the IAEA is expecting the two places that Russia are accusing Ukraine of preparing them. They have been there before. The photos that Russia has posted as evidence have been verified. They are false. They are fake. But still, the IAEA is coming to inspect these two places where they have been before, in order to make sure and to probably debunk these Russian accusations.
DW correspondent Matthias Böllinger there reporting from Kyiv. Thank you, Matthias. And Matthias Böllinger also filed our next report. It's not only Russians and Ukrainians fighting against each other in Ukraine. You can also find many ethnic Chechens on both sides of the war. Chechny's ruler, Ramzan Kadyrov, has sent soldiers to help the Russians. And yet Ukraine has a battalion named after a Chechen independence leader, full of men keen to fight against the Russians.
Storming a building. This is a training session for new recruits to Ukraine's Jocha Dudayev battalion, a Chechen volunteer group fighting for Ukraine. They are often the very first to go into newly won territory.
Our job is to storm and to clear the place. After that, the other groups come in and do their job.
Maga, as he calls himself, was born in Chechnya but grew up in Europe. He says he's always dreamed of fighting against Russia. After Putin annexed Crimea and installed proxies in the Donbas, Maga moved to Ukraine. He joined the battalion, which bears the colors of Chechen independence and the name of its hero, Jocha Dudayev.
This has been going on for generations. My father fought against Russia in the First and Second Chechen Wars in the 1990s, and I must continue this fight.
Last month, the battalion was among the first to enter the town of Izum. As the Chechen volunteers fight for Ukraine, many consider it part of their greater battle against Russia.
We want to go home. We want to liberate our country. After Ukraine, we will go home.
These are anti-Russian Chechens, but there are also Chechens fighting on the other side. Militias sent by Ramzan Kadyrov, the Putin loyalist who rules Chechnya with an iron fist. The Tudaev battalion is proud of its roots, but new recruits don't have to be Chechen. Ukrainians can join too. They don't get official training or payment. The battalion relies on donations and their own enthusiasm.
You can try to learn a lot about war, but what counts is to make practical use of it. When the moment of combat comes, some people falter psychologically or otherwise. That's why the most important thing is to have strong motivation, a strong idea.
The group is away from the front now, waiting for new instructions, preparing to return. Chechens and Ukrainians fighting a common cause.
Ships full of grain have been leaving Ukrainian ports despite Russia's pulling out of an agreement that allowed them safe passage. The deal was brokered by Turkey and the United Nations and permits ships to bypass Russia's blockade of the Ukrainian coast. Now, these ships cross the Black Sea to Turkey before heading to various international destinations. So far, more than 9.5 million tons of corn, wheat and other grains have made it out. But this is far less than Ukraine exported before the war. Spain has received the most grain so far, according to figures from the United Nations. Turkey comes next, followed by China and Italy. Out of the 9.5 million tons in total, the UN World Food Programme has sent 60,000 tons to Yemen and Ethiopia, countries with high levels of food insecurity. The deal was set to expire later this month, and now Russia has warned that it will be dangerous to try to enforce the agreement now that it has pulled out. Let's get more on this from DW Russia analyst Konstantin Eggert, who joins us from Vilnius this morning. Konstantin, dangerous, what could this mean?
Well, so far, Gerhard, it means just that the Kremlin wants to issue yet another threat, but doesn't know whether it will follow with some kind of concrete action. I think that for Putin today, the scale or the set of tools that he can use to pressure international community is very limited. And after the attack on the Russian Black Sea Fleet base in the occupied Crimea, he decided to go for the old hard tactic of, threatening hunger to the world. But I think that this threat today, to me, doesn't sound very credible.
Now, Ukraine intends to continue exporting grain via the Black Sea despite all this. Can we anticipate how long Russia will suspend this agreement?
I don't think Russia suspended this agreement because so far, the ships are sailing. I think that this is an attempt to pressure, for example, Turkey, again, into coming in and trying to negotiate something, showing that Russia is not alone, that Russia is listened to. But frankly, Gerhard, imagine Russian ships now blocking a Ukrainian freighter with grain. These days, as opposed to spring, it will look really, really bad, especially actually for the countries in, let's say, in Africa or in Asia, which get quite a bit of this grain. And these countries now actually form at least some part of international support for Putin. And I don't think that Putin would like this picture to be beamed via TV screens across the world. So I think it's just a threat, but so far, no more than that, no more than words.
Now, Konstantin, we've heard that Russia had changed its tactics because of setbacks on the battlefields. Is that why there are now these massive attacks on civilian infrastructure?
Absolutely. I think that the Kremlin and its commanders believe that if they actually relentlessly destroy Ukrainian infrastructure, the population will be tired and will pressure President Zelensky to start peace negotiations. So I think that in absence of any kind of meaningful military successes, the only way for Putin is to actually continue to pummel civilian infrastructure, kill civilians. So essentially, it's a terror war against Ukraine.
Thank you very much. DW's Russia analyst Konstantin Eggert there.